Hi everybody, welcome to Power of Knowing Forum's Knowledge Nexus, tech that moves you, ideas that scale you. And our topic of discussion today is decoding the CISO's role from a security guardian to growth leader. Your go-to podcast on tech, cybersecurity, strategy, and growth. I am Prem Kumar. Yes, today your host. We will explore how the role of CISOs is shaping over the years. A special welcome to all joined Power of Knowing weekly podcast series, episode 290, live on LinkedIn today. We have the honor of having Dr. Lopa Basuu, global thought leader, cybersecurity and technology risk management, mentor, speaker, and author. Let's welcome our esteemed speaker to the podcast event and dive into the topic. Hi, madam.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Welcome to our podcast, madam. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you
A small
for inviting me and giving me this platform to connect with the people. And I'm actively listening this podcast from some time, and it's really a great job you are doing.
Thank you, madam. A small intro about yourself and your journey on the tech and cyberspace over the years of your experience, madam.
Okay, that's a very difficult question. Uh, uh, I'm an information security and technology risk management professional shaping the digital future by architecting the digital trust in business DNA. Why I am doing so? My aim is to make India a cyber safe and data safe business destination for the entire world. And also, I'm a women cybersecurity advocate, though I personally believe that security doesn't recognize any gender. It's a competency based domain, very high demanding domain. So, when coming to my journey, I have started with an organization called PCM Group of Industries as part of their ISP as an system admin, specifically the network admin. And when I uh, actually parted from the organization, I was managing their SOC, not SOC, we call that NOC those days, that is the Network Operation Center. So from there, I moved to a core security role as part of Infosys and lead and work as a consultant for security audit and architecture group, then moved to MetLife as an IT security and quality manager, design their entire perimeter security as a security uh, architect, and then design their server and uh, endpoint security. From there, moved to SLK Global, started as an information security manager, and it's a huge, long journey. When I parted, I was heading the enterprise security and risk governance team as a CISO. From there, Aquin as a global director, IT risk operation, and then led the global team of Nissan Motor as a global head of cybersecurity, risk management, and governance. Then moved to JPMC, and now with InfoSec Gurukul as a managing director, IT and cybersecurity. That's the span of 20 years journey.
Thank you for that, madam. Let's start with the first question.
Hmm.
Boards fear cyber attacks are now outplaced defenses. How do you confront the fear that even advanced AI driven securities can be blinded by the next gen threats?
Okay, very interesting question. And you started with a question which is, very critical. The fear is real because the threat landscape has changed. It's a accelerated arms race. We must reframe a conversation. AI is not just a shield, but a strategic weapon that provide unparalleled speed and scale. It's force multiplier that makes our human defense exponentially more effective. However, we must also recognize that AI is a dual-edged sword. If not welded with discipline and proper governance, it can wound the every organization it meant to protect. Uh, the key is human AI partnership, the ultimate defense where we train the AI and it in turn empower us to protect our organization from the adversaries. We are no longer just kind of using this as a shield, but we are using AI as a sword to protect, hunt, and turning the fear to a strategic advantage. Over to you.
Thank you for that, madam. Now, looking at the second pointer, CISOs often fear being sidelined from strategic conversations. How do you turn fear into the influence at the executive table?
First of all, the fear of being sidelined stemmed from the dated mindset. To gain influence, you must reframe security from the cost center to trust center, which is the new currency. To earn your seat in the executive table, CISO must speak the language of business, translate the threat into financial and operational impact. Don't talk about the vulnerabilities. Discuss about the business resilience and market resilience. Provide actionable clarity. What needs a decision pathway, not the technical jargon, not the problem. So provide the solution. Use the business relevant metrics like uptime risks, customer stick, and trust related risks. 5 minutes briefing with a clear option is more impactful compared to a 50-page report. Align with growth, that is more important. Position the cybersecurity as a strategic enabler for the growth and innovation, not a roadblocker. When you demonstrate how security protects revenue and brand and reputation, you become an invaluable voice in every strategic conversation. Not secondly, the fourth and very important point, don't create a panic. The gap between security and board is not about the competence, it is about the communication and the mindset. By shifting the focus from technical guardian to a strategic business partner, CISO not only earned the seat at the table, but become a central voice in the organizational growth agenda. That's my prospect, and you know, people may also add some more point to give
You're
a
right.
more broader aspect to this.
You're right on saying that, madam, because being feared is like not ready to voice over things, right? So if you are
Correct.
having a problem of voicing over, then there is a problem that you are not able to put your points forth to the board, because CISO's role is predominantly to look at getting the agenda done, what cybersecurity is supposed to be looking at, how the posture is to be built up, what is the way that you need to bring the
Correct.
board aligned, and look at what are the challenges if the frameworks or the compliance is not met, and what would be
Absolutely.
the reputational damage which can bring up to the organization when we don't have kind of compliances coming in, right? So CISO's role
Absolutely.
is very important. Fear should not be
Yes,
a
there should
blocker.
not be a fear, there should not be a panic. Sister should not create any panic also, because
Yeah,
when you
exactly.
create panic, people will not respond in a positive way.
Now, coming there again, now there's a growing fear in CISO burnout with raising regulatory demands, right? how do you avoid leaders? How do leaders avoid becoming the weakest link themselves? Because get scared, the team also gets scared, and there is a lot of issues while it comes in, right? So, your take on it, Dr.
See, first of all, I would like to say that CISO role is not emerged as a C-suite role. CISO role is born as a C-suite role. Somewhere in 1994 or during that period, this role was crafted by Citigroup to address a security breach. So that's the time they understand that a complete, strategic leader is required who is having a clear understanding of business, capable to craft the strategy very effectively and the handle the challenges with cool mindset. So that's the point this role emerged, and they appoint the first CISO. And this gentleman, rather than the CISO of city, known as a first CISO of the world. So when we look at that, yes, it is emerged, but somehow this role is degraded over the period and become a technology centric realm. But the question is excellent and in time question. The CISO role evolved as a strategic, board facing one, and it's capable to handle a immense pressure. That's the focus. But you know, with the time, there are lots of changes happen. So yes, there is a burnt out factor, but this role is meant for the people who can able to handle that. So few of the things is very important from a CISO. One is the person should be a consummate C-suite executive, apart from a domain expert, master of delegation and to get the work done, also capable to embark on a automation in a way that balance the human skill with the machine skill. So also one of the biggest capability is act as advisor, act as an executor, both. Also lead the entire organization as a team. So when you are meant to do all this, yes, very important is you should be know the art of delegation and art of mentoring. So you should be able to distribute the things, channelize the things, also roll back the things the way it is expected. It is this actually require not only a very strong mental strength, it's also require a capability of that is called mental resilience. So this role is not made for everybody. This is a very strong role, C-suite role, meant for the people who are capable to handle those aspects.
Thank you for that, madam. As you rightly said, CISO's role is not a small role. It
No.
is handling the entire organization's security posture on their responsibility metrics, and that is a very key challenge. Now, what we
Yes,
see
here,
again,
Prem, I would
yeah,
like to, say something.
yeah,
You are the general, right? You are the general of a organization, and you are building the defense, and you are responsible to protect the organization. So you cannot panic under attack. You cannot distress under attack. You need to perform more strategically, more effectively under the attack. That's the capability of a CISO.
you're right, madam. Now, coming to the pointer that I want to add as a responsibility when it comes to CISO is CISO has to convince the boards with the metrics that are to be given on the cybersecurity side, right? So
Mhm.
it becomes very, very important for the CISO to have that kind of report generated. Often, what happens is the boards complain about security reports are unreadable, and how do CISO solve the pain point of translating complex cybersecurity metrics into business clarity is what I wanted to have as an input from your side.
Okay, this is a major pain point I think board is facing today.
Mm,
To solve this, a CISO must create a non-executive level and executive level dashboard focused on the three key areas. One is risks to revenue. Instead of technical jargon or technical parameters, link the threat directly to what the board cares about, that is, the financial loss,
mm.
reputational damage, and operational disruption. For example, translate a critical vulnerability into a potential for a 2 day system outage impacting a quarter revenue by 5% would be a more readable, more understandable language for the board. Next is maturity and market share. Both are very competitive. Use simple maturity model and peer benchmarking to show that how your security posture compares to how your security posture is good compared to your competitors. This frames security as a competitive advantage and an investment to secure the market position. Next is turning the security into a strategic center for trust engine rather than a cost center. Present every security initiative as an investment, not as a cost. Demonstrate a clear return on investment by showing how this initiative reduce the business risks, protect the brand value, and enable the growth. Ultimately, it is not the report a CISO produce, it is the narrative the CISO build around it by speaking the language of business that transform the security from technical problem to a strategic business enabler. A well-framed 5 minutes briefing that outline the clear options and their business impact is far powerful than a kind of 1 hour presentation.
So we should look at how easy the report is made to read, right? That's what you are saying.
I'm stating that every organization have a business goal, views, objectives.
Mhm.
Based on that, there is a key performance indicator crafted at org level, which is
Okay.
presented at board. That is the vision and mission for the board. Align your report with that, because there are three kind of dashboard produced by the security function. One is your administrative level or operational level dashboard that will go to the operational manager. One is executive level dashboard that is going to your functional heads. They are your key stakeholder. But third, that highest level dashboard is a board level dashboard. But today challenges, most of the cases CISO is trying to present that operational level dashboard to both executive and board level by summarizing that here and there. So those language is not actually effective at board.
I think what they should look at is what is the tech that is needed, what is the risk we carry, and what is the business impact is what I think makes an important point for the boards to take it forward is what I understand, madam.
Yeah.
Coming to the next point I want to understand is organizations suffer from talent gaps, which in cybersecurity, how do we address that pain point of building a next generation teams when demand outstrips supply? Because I think there is a survey going on from Cloud Security Alliance on the skill gap matrix that we are trying to do. That is one way of bringing up the skill gap, but I wanted to take your input on it.
Okay. It's a very, very valid question today. We know there is a huge talent gap at every level. The cybersecurity talent gap is a strategic business risk today, not merely a HR problem. We cannot hire our way out of global shortage. That is kind of projected to level millions of position unfilled. Instead, we must become a talent creator, not just a talent consumer. Today, we act as a talent consumer and strategically leverage both on human and machine power. That is, utilizing both human power and machine power by balancing uh, how to create a proper balance between these two poles. Now, the global shortage of specialized cybersecurity talent is not going away from anytime soon. With 3.5 million open cybersecurity position expected by end of this year, that is 2025, the solution lies in three-pronged approach: onboarding the strong leader and rescale the existing employee for high demand cyber roles. Second is creating a structured cybersecurity career path within the enterprise to retain them, because onboarding is easy, retaining is very difficult. Third is driving cultural resilience program that transform every employee to a security asset. The answer is not just complete for limited supply, it is to cultivate your own talent. Remember, the most underutilized cyber defense asset may be already sitting in your office, and the most impactful cybersecurity leader may be within your own network. So try to attract them, utilize them, and build a very effective team. And we obviously want HR to play a very critical role, because unless until you have a proper cybersecurity leader inside, the first prong is not possible. That is, reskilling and upskilling your existing employee. That is very, very crucial in today.
I agree, madam, because the kind of requirement the cybersecurity industry is looking at and the current skill gap seems to be very huge. And global cybersecurity talent shortage is a huge gap. We need to define the scope of shortage, maybe upskilling and look at delivery pipelines, right? So, diverse pipelines also should be looked at. Now, coming to our next point is CISOs often feel stuck firefighting instead of innovating, right? So, how do we solve that pain point from shifting from tactical to strategic leadership?
Yes, this is this is something very, very important for the CISO role, because CISO is a strategic role. So if you have a proper strategy in place, you are not firefighting. But again, cybersecurity function is a very dynamic function within the organization, and you don't know what is going to impact you after 1 hour. So, considering that kind of dynamic scenario, we need to also keep our hand open to welcome those kind of challenge and respond them with proper strategy. So my approach is to elevate the why from cybersecurity, not as a cost center, but as a business enabler. Instead of discussing the vulnerabilities, talk about the resilience, competitive advantage, and trust. Automate and aggressively invest on automation for routine tasks. This was lots of cases, very task oriented, like patching, log analysis, threat hunting, This freezes their time, and your team focus to a reactive kind of thing, and we need to shift it from there to proactiveness and the strategic initiative. Specifically, your senior management of CISO team needs to focus on that. Think like an architect, not as a machine. Today we talk about the best practice, everything is good, but don't be mechanical. Move from reacting to a kind of mindset to develop a long-term security architecture that is going to align with the business strategy, but agile, scalable, and resilient. Influence the board. It is very important for any CISOs. Educate the leadership on cyber risks in business terms. Show them how strategic security investment leads to a sustainable growth and protect the enterprise value. And build a strategic bench. Mentor your team to become a strategic leader. Delegate the operational oversight so you can focus more on the horizon of scanning and business alignment. It is a deliberate journey from doing security to enable the business securely. It's required discipline, influence, and fundamental shift of mindset. And once you are able to achieve that, you know, that is the point where you actually shift that firefighting mode to a strategic enabler mode.
So true, madam. It should be looked at strategic way of handling things, and that's way that we can look at having the firefighting issue not being brought up every time. Now, coming to AI biased, right? So we are in the field of AI today, and
Mhm.
everything is AI. Now, wherever we see, we talk about AI. AI bias and flawed models can become security problems themselves, right? So that's one pointer that I want to understand. And how should the CISOs prepare for attacks born from their own AI systems? Because we're still building up the models.
This is a subject means on which we can spend hours and hours. AI bias and flaw model represents significant security vulnerability, enabling the exploits such as logical bomb, data poisoning, and model poisoning, compromised decision making, which also in turn attract the legal liabilities. To address this, three area CISO needs to critically focus, validate that AI model from an attacker perspective, embedding a AI specific security development lifecycle. Next is establishing a cross functional governance and ethical oversight, including the guardrails, kill switch, and bias bounty program. Bug bounty everybody is having, but bias bounty is very, very important from AI perspective. Securing AI begins with validating its integrity and embedding the governance and ethics across the life cycle. So, most importantly, take it as a strategic journey, establish an effective governance and ethical uh, use uh, throughout the life cycle and start driving from that point.
Okay, got it, man. Coming to the next point, now what you are talking about is when we see AI betraying you, the CISO's role becomes a nightmare actually. So there is a
Yes.
lot of challenges that we are looking at. Now, shadow IT is one thing that, and rogue SAS apps plague enterprises, right? How
Yeah.
do we fix the problem of invisible risks that executives don't even know exist? Your take on it.
Okay. Shadow IT is a very interesting area. Shadow IT is not really a technological flaw, it's a invisible business risk. To address it, first we understand why this actually penetrated within the business environment. There is certain area or requirement by the business which actually require investment from a people and finance perspective, time perspective, and not feasible for the in-house IT. So, or sometimes the kind of cost incurred by the in-house IT, it's not possible or due to the timeline challenges. So, what business do? Business take the alternative path and onboarding them. And problem is that when they are onboarding, IT is not aware about that, we assume, but I feel that is complete myth. Some cases, 80% cases, because you are accessing that. To access any component within your enterprise environment, you need to have access. But another thing is, over the time, IT forget that. And all the cost is actually incurred by the organization. So it is not complete shadow. The modern approach is enablement through the governance. So understand what are those tool or technology or application used by the organization, bring them under a governance umbrella, and seamlessly clean that if there is a problem instead of stuffing them down blindly. We need to understand the risk score based on the sensitivity and the compliance impact and the vendor posture. Equally, it is critical to cultivate the culture, shifting the ownership. So, security is everyone responsibility. That is something we need to inject in the organizational culture and every employee's mind by engaging with them and by building the brand as the brand. I'm not talking about the organizational brand, the functional brand of security as a trust. Also, and collaborate with your finance and regulatory system, that is your in-house legal and compliance, to make it a real risk. And the outcome is powerful. Shadow IT is transformed from hidden liability to a governed innovation where agility and security move in a hand on hand to protect the growth as well as trust.
Thank you for that detailed info about shadow IT, which I think was not known to many of the people who look at shadow IT, right? So, coming to the next point that I want to understand is boards know breaches are inevitable, right?
Yes.
The problem is speed of recovery and how can CISOs refine success as resilience, not just as a prevention. Your
You
take
are
on it.
you are absolutely correct. Breach are inevitable. The question is when, not if. Old, prospect or mindset is to create, by creating the prevention, create a false sense of security. Modern CISOs focused on the resilience over pure prevention. So, resilience means measuring how quickly you detect, containment, and recover from that incident. It is about designing the system to fail gracefully and recover quickly through a immutable backup, segmentation, or rigorous tested recovery plan. Equally, it is important reframing the cybersecurity in business terms, reduce the downtime, then protecting the consumer trust, client trust, safeguarding the brand reputation, earn the trust of your stakeholder and employee. When you tell board that resilience can cut ransomware recovery from 3 weeks to 3 hours. That's a tangible business outcome. Ultimately, resilience is not just protection, it's a competitive advantage. How quickly you bounce back. Organizations that can recover swiftly instead of taking a huge time, they can generate trust and earn the trust from the stakeholder. That is the real hallmark of a modern CISO, and not the breach that never happened, but on how quickly they recover from that situation effectively with reduced reputational, financial, and regulatory loss.
I was on mute. Sorry about it. Thank you for that pointer. Now, I want to understand from you on organization desperately need trust in digital ecosystems, right?
Right.
And how CISOs evolve into trust architects, not just security enforcers, because it is more of a architect that we are looking at CISOs, not just like an enabler, right? We need them to know what they are putting into the environment and what exactly is the outcome that is needed when we talk about cybersecurity and digital ecosystems. Your take on it.
The role of the CISO has fundamentally shifted. CISO is no longer just a guardian of a digital perimeter. CISO uh, must know that they become a trust architect. In today's digital economy, trust is the new currency. A breach does not just hit the balance sheet, it actually hit the customer confidence and weakens the partnership. That's why our mandate as a CISO is to build the security program that actively project the confidence, not just protect data. Particularly, this means three things. First, moving from saying no to asking how we can do it securely in a compliant way. Embedding the security and privacy in the innovation from the start, either as default or by design. Second, making the security visible and transparent using the plain language and even marketing our controls as a differentiator. And third, align the security directly with the business outcome, protecting the revenue, brand reputation, and regulatory stands. Ultimately, CISO's success is not defined by clean audit or absence of breach. It must measured by the trust a CISO built and sustained with customer, partner, and employee. That is the true competitive advantage of modern CISO in this digital era.
Got it, madam. Coming to our next pointer that I want to understand from you is uh, boards need proof, right,
Hmm.
for the trust leadership. So, how do we look at security fueling growth, and how do we showcase cybersecurity ROI beyond avoiding fines? Because if there is a breach, we talk about fines, right? It is a
Yes.
bigger challenge for us now with the current structure that we are having for data and the compliances that we have, like GDPR, CCPA, DPDP, and other compliances. Having a solution where we avoid fines is becoming a critical pointer. Your take on it, Dr. Kumar?
One of the most critical conversation a CISO can have with the board. is reframing the cybersecurity. The era of treating it's an insurance policy to avoid the fines is over. Cybersecurity is not a cost center, it's a strategic trust center that directly drives the business growth and enterprise value. The message to the board must be clear. First, brand and reputation are financial asset. A breach can erase years of equity over the night, while resilience protect the value. Second, security enable the speed and efficiency. Investment like security as a code or automated control accelerator innovation and the shortened time to the market. And third, a mature security posture is a competitive differentiator. Certifications, transparency, and demonstrable trust win the contracts, retain the customer, and strengthen the market position. In short, the board does not just need metrics on vulnerability patches. What they need to see is how security investments safeguarding the reputation empower the growth and turn the trust into the tangible competitive advantage. Now, one thing we need to remember very importantly, if we have a proper security program in place with effective implementation, trust and compliance is a byproduct of that.
Now, coming to the next point that we want to understand is CISOs need allies across the C-suite. What's your playbook for building cross-functional influence? Because when we look at cybersecurity, we are not talking only to one department. We need to talk to various other departments, and it becomes our responsibility as a CISO to get the cross-functional influences also in place for us to build a strong cybersecurity posture for the organization. Your inputs on it, Dr.
First of all, security is a vertical function, cutting every function vertically. So the modern CISO cannot secure a company alone. Collaboration and alliance across the C-suite is a non-negotiable requirement and very, very essential. For too longer, CISO role was seen as purely a technical, but today we, we are strategic leader and our influence comes from the partnership. That means we are elevating the CISO role to the point when it was actually born. That begins with speaking their language, then uh, creates a line with the chief operating officer, CFO, and potentially focusing on operational efficiency. We must translate the security into those outcome. Second, we co-create rather than command, and
Hmm.
try to force the people. When you co-create the security, you act as advisor and expert and drive it into the inside the project for day one, making the security a business enabler instead of an afterthought. Finally, we must shift from the beginning, that is the department of no to department of how, by showing how superior security and privacy can win the contracts, protect the reputation, and accelerate the growth. We move from blocker's role to a trusted partner role. A real milestone of success is when peer don't just bring up a problem, they bring a new ideas and ask you how we can do it together securely. That's when a CISO become a true leader of influence.
I think what you are saying is CISO's power equals allies, not silos, is what you are trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is a power of the CISO to look at how to bring everybody to look at the larger context of the organization, and that's where we stand. Now, every CISO desires to be seen as a growth leader. How do you personally rebrand security from cost center to competitive edge?
Being a seesaw today means moving beyond the role of digital gatekeeper. The real shift is in rebranding the security as a competitive advantage, not just as a cost center. When we frame the security as trust, it become a differentiator, something that wins the customer, secure the partnership, and protect the brand equity. At the same time, we are no longer slowing the business down by embedding the security in the development stage, automating the control. We actually accelerate the innovation. We become a torchbearer for the growth. And most importantly, we are no longer just a technical expert. We sit at the table with our peers across the C suite as a strategic partner, align security with business goal. The real milestone of success is when leaders stop asking why security blocking this and start asking how we can do it securely together. That's when security become a true engine of trust and growth. You are not audible.
Sorry, I was on mute. So what we are talking is security is a new growth engine. That's what we are talking.
Yes.
We take away from what we see from this question is reframe security as an enabler. That's what we are trying to look at to see to the point where CISOs can become a growth leader. Now coming to the next pointer that I want to, leaders desire influence in global policy. How do CISOs shape regulation instead of just reacting to it?
Very, very important in today's context where entire, regulatory requirement is evolving across the globe. CISO must evolve from a passive responder to active shaper of global policies. Our expertise belongs at the regulatory table, not in on the sideline. By engaging directly with the policymaker, contributing during the policy uh, framing, or and building the relationship with the regulators, standard bodies, we bring a real world insight that theory alone cannot provide. Joining the different council, alliance, industry bodies, forums, government initiative, we can amplify our voice, enabling us to advocate collectively from particular requirement, globally aligned standard. Instead of waiting for a rigid, unworkable mandates, we must proactively champion standards-based framework and contribute back to the industry. The goal is clear: embed the practitioner perspective into the policy making so regulation become not a burden but a strategic enabler and capable to create a safe digital ecosystem. In doing so, Seychelles shift from policy taker to a global policy architect. That is very important for this role today.
And coming to our last pointer for the day, as we are running on top of the hour, many CISOs desire legacy impact. How do you ensure your leadership sparks future generations, especially women in cybersecurity?
For me, CISO legacy is just not about how well we secured the organization. It is about how well we secure the future of our profession. And that means If we are able to do that, we will be able to protect the future of digital ecosystem. And that means actively mentoring and championing the next generation, especially the women who are still underrepresented in cybersecurity. This is just, I would say, this is not just a right thing to do. It is a strategic imperative, right? Div- Diverse team brings a broader perspective and more innovative solution to the complex security challenges today what we face. That's why my approach is combining the mentorship and visibility. Mentorship is not just about giving advice, it's about sponsoring, using the influence to create the opportunity, advocating for the promotion and opening the doors for them. And visibility also matters. You cannot be what you cannot see. By speaking at event, amplifying the woman's voice, and putting the diverse leader on the stage, we make the path to leadership visibility and attainable visibility. Ultimately, a seesaw's greatest legacy is not measured by the threat they blocked, but the leaders they helped to raise. That's how we build the strong, more inclusive, and more innovative future for cybersecurity.
Thank you for that, madam. Now, I'll just summarize on what we discussed for the last 50 minutes to have the pointer coming up on how we are looking at decoding the CISO role from security guardian to a growth leader. First, we started with cyber attacks fear, how outpacing defenses and AI driven securities can be blindfolded with the next generation threats, because what we're talking about here is more breaches are happening. Many companies are, when AI attacks faster than we defend, what's next is what we are talking about. Then we spoke about fear, where CISOs were sidelined. Fear of exclusion is here, how CISO can earn a seat, is what we wanted to say, because fear cannot bring solutions to the table, and we cannot bring that kind of cyber security impact for the organization. Third point that we discussed was how do we look at fear of burnout and raising compliance demands. We spoke about CISOs under fire, who protects is what we wanted to look at. CISOs are the people who are uh, looking at determining the fear of overload, balancing automation, delegation, and mental resilience is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about some of the pointers where boards complain for security reports being unreadable. So we took about the takeaway pointer where we look at the three tier model, which is tech, risk, and business impact. Then we spoke about global cybersecurity talent gap, where we see about 3.5 million jobs unfilled, where there is the next cyber warriors, is what we are talking about. Then we spoke about AI bias and flawed models can become a security problem. And we also said where your AI betrays, CISO work becomes a nightmare, is what we spoke also. And then we spoke about breaches are inevitable and how do we be looking at bouncing back. If it is not, if, but how do we fast bounce back is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about security builds trust, trust builds growth. When we spoke about how do we enforce trust, where he becomes an architect, not just a security enforcer. Then we spoke about CISO's cross uh, aligning with cross functional for influence. CISO power equals allies, not silos, is what we spoke about. And finally, what we spoke about how women can be encouraged for becoming the leaders in cybersecurity. Empower women, secure future is what we spoke on the overall 50 minutes of our podcast today. Any last minute points that you want to give before we conclude the session?
Sorry, you.
Any pointers that you want to add before we conclude the session?
Most importantly, I think CISO role is having a huge responsibility today to protect the business territory, and this business territory is virtual. So we need to learn every day from what we are doing. It is not that only we are learning from a book or within our organization. We need to learn from our peer, also the researcher who are actually predicting the tomorrow. So we need to build a collaborative network where we learn from other. Also we disseminate the knowledge in a secure way that our organization will not get impacted, but we together able to build a safe and secure environment. And today we are in a juncture where we can see a huge possibility for our country to emerge as a cyber security service provider and as a trusted partner for the entire globe. We must utilize that opportunity by creating the industry aligned talent, because we know as a country we have a huge talent pool, and as a CISO we can proactively come and groom them. So I think that is the biggest contribution we can do, and that is a kind of ethical responsibility today we have in our shoulder, because we are running in an environment where resource is a major crunch.
Thank you for that, madam. And to add to what Dr. Lopa mentioned is, we see there is a huge potential for cybersecurity resources that are required in the coming years too, because we are predominantly on the cloud. Most of our services are on cloud, and that is where we need to protect our digital assets. That's what Dr. Lopa Mudraa is saying today. And with this, we would like to conclude our session. And to the audience, we have streamed this podcast live to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Hope you found this discussion valuable, and thank you for joining us on LinkedIn Live today. Our next podcast is scheduled tomorrow on the discussion of C-suite brands drive value. What happens when leaders go silent? That's the point that we are discussing tomorrow. We will meet you tomorrow. Good day and bye. Bye for now, madam. Thank you for being here today. And it's been a great honor to have you here.
Thank you, and